It is officially the beginning of our Thursdays, Cosmic Conversations. Go on YouTube, got it. Okay, so, hi, wherever you are in this planet, welcome. This is our Cosmic Conversations with me, Stacey Harder, and my mother, Dr. Heather Harder. I want to first start off saying to all my brothers and sisters, my kings and queens, my gods and goddesses, that came here to assist in this transition, that I honor you truly and deeply. And you are not alone. We are in this together. And I am so honored to be here with you all each week to be able to go through this together, because it's been a doozy of a week or two. So with that being said, I'm just thankful that we get to wake up through this process together. And if you have the courage to see it and feel it, it's how we move through it. So with that being said, some big times coming into history. All right, Heather, I'll let you take over so I can do my techie stuff.
Thank you very much. And welcome to everybody who joins us both online and in our Zoom meeting. And if you'd like to join us online, I think Stacey's got the numbers up there. If you're on Zoom call, then you can interject, ask questions, comment much easier. And you are also part of our studio, so that if we do sprinkles, you're part of that. It's just much easier, and I get to see your face. We start each class, each session, each conversation with calling in protection, guidance, and truth. Very important elements. Many people do it automatically every morning. Others have no clue that anyone does it. You call those in because by universal law, you only get what you're asking for. And so by asking for protection, you save yourself some bumps and unpleasantries that may be avoided. They're not necessary for your life, so that you just wash them away. The second thing is the guidance. You know, if you think about getting in your car and going on a long trip, you'll probably get to where you're going. But it will be much easier, much faster, much more efficient if you have a GPS that's telling you where you're going. And it shows you the best route and how to avoid the traffic and all of that kind of stuff. So think of this asking for guidance to be sort of like turning on your spiritual GPS, that it gets you to where you need to go. And you don't even know where you need to go. It is the soul that sets the destination. It is the time where we're turning over our journey from a mental direction, our mind deciding what we need and when we need it and how we need it, to our heart or soul being the one that determines our life path. It's that magical journey from head to heart. And for many people, it's not an easy task to relax their mind and not question, not analyze, not take things apart, not second guess themselves. And when you're calling in guidance, you literally are allowing that spiritual GPS to take over, and you just follow directions. It's much easier in life in so many different ways. So that's the first step. And you can do that with affirmations, you can do it with intentions, you can do it with visualizations, you can do it with any technique that you want. The technique does not determine the outcome. Whatever feels best for you, do it. Whatever doesn't feel right, don't do it. This is a time to follow your heart, with each of us on a very, very sacred journey that is divinely orchestrated. Okay. Now, normally, the second part of our journey is a playing in the light. We literally use the light to go or do or be or send the light to where we feel it needs to go, and so on. I'm not going to do that this time. We're going to start with something else and then come back to playing in the light, because I was so impressed with what I received that I want to share it with you. And this is an email that I'm reading, and my dear friend Rebecca is the one that sent it to me. And so I've asked first of all, permission to share it, and she gave it, and then asked that she be here so that she can add whatever she wants to add, because I think it has a message for all of us, and it's going to become my new mantra. So you're going to hear me talking about a lot. And with that, Becky, do you want to say or add anything to this before I share the important nuggets? Okay. All right. And Becky said it's very hard for her to be on camera on Zoom. And so one of the things that I think that it's very important to recognize, we often hit those moments that are hard. We are in those moments, we have to decide whether we push through or avoid and go someplace else. I can't tell you things that I've had to do in my life that were hard for me in a zillion different ways. But I always sort of go inside and go, okay, is this important for my life? Do I need to do this? Or is this something that I don't need to do? And if it's something that's important, it just stays sort of in that churning place. And so, and Becky, may I talk about you and your life in this process? Would you mind? Okay. I don't, when people write me, I do not violate their trust unless they get permission. Then I violate their trust in all kinds of ways. As I shared with Becky the first time I met her, she's a very powerful woman. And I believe this is a very important first step for her to sort of move out in the public. Many, many light workers are sort of camera shy, gun shy. They don't want to stick their neck out. They'd rather stay in the closet. In fact, I'm told there are many more spiritual people in the closet than there are gays. That, in lifetimes past, when we, stuck our neck out, we would get burned at the stake or beheaded. We would have all these experiences. And so we sort of a little bit of gun shy. I'm not ready to do that yet. What if I get attacked for it? So we tend to pull back, but there's no more time for pulling back. If people know me personally, know that it's only in the last few years that I've been comfortable not wearing a turtleneck or wearing a scarf around my neck. I did not like having my neck exposed. And it comes from so many times being beheaded, that I just felt always safer and more comfortable with my throat covered. So now I've worked through that. It wasn't easy, but a lot of internal work, and I can now wear any top I want. I consider that a great success. But most people would never know that. So when you hit those moments like, ooh, I don't like doing this, it feels gunky, then you really need to do soul searching. And I'm so happy that Becky had the confidence to stay on camera, because she usually blacks herself out and is a part of our conversation. So now for what she shared, because I think it's profound. I had asked people in our we have a Facebook thread where we send out things to everybody. And I'm working on some of my marketing, branding and stuff. And so they want testimonials and they want all these things. So I asked people, just give me a few sentences on how what I've done has affected you, how it's impacted you, how something has had meaning, because those are the testimonials that I was looking for, those nuggets. And so he sent this with lots of nice things, which I'm not going to share. She says, I had an experience of a sort. I feel compelled to tell you about it since it, in my mind, correlates with your quest for reviews. You're all having experiences. It's really important you pay attention to these experiences. They can be profound or they can be what would be considered minor, but they stay with you. You keep thinking about them, you ruminate about them. The images jump into your head at different times. Those are really important, pivotal moments. Becky took the time to write it down. I hope that I've encouraged all of you along the way to have a journal to write down these things, because in gathering these important nuggets, you begin to put your own puzzle together. You begin to put your own total process together. So it really is important that you jot them down. And so Becky has. And so thank you, Becky. I appreciate that. She says, I was watching something on TV and I was suddenly struck with the intense feeling of desperation. The feeling was so overwhelming, it immediately brought tears to my eyes. In that moment, I thought to myself, is anyone or anything coming to save us? How can the world be like it is and not be doomed. How can someone like me help to turn the tide in any way? I think that's a universal feeling, like who's going to do something? Somebody's going to do something, because the world is getting crazy, and it's crazier, and it's going to go on for quite a while yet. So at any rate, she had this incredible, overwhelming feeling of desperation. And notice how she sent out questions. If you make statements like, oh my God, I feel bad. Oh my God, this is terrible. Oh my goodness, we're doomed. If we send statements out like that, then we make that our reality. When we send out questions, is anything coming to save us? How can the world be like this? How can someone like me make a difference? She's asking questions. Universal law says if you ask a question, you must get the answer. You must. It's the law. The Bible says, ask and believe and you shall receive. You have to get the answer. So going automatically to questions and not statements is powerful. Another testament to her wisdom and to her power. And asking those questions, of course, she gets the answer. Not like she was expecting, which is universal, but she gets the answer. As I was experiencing this, I had a sudden vision of Jesus and Gandhi sitting beside each other on the sand in a desert alone. Just sit with that image for a moment. Feel it. Jesus and Gandhi. What did they have alike? How were they different? But they were sitting together alone in the sand. Jesus reached his hand up to me and said, I brought you here to hold the line. Now hold the line. Just then, there were multitudes of people sitting in an endless line beside them in the desert, just sitting and offering nothing but love and a smile. Without words spoken, I knew he was asking that I do the same. Sit beside them and beam love and a smile into the vastness. I'm not sure what that was, but it was moving and alarming in the sense that many things, and she's talking about me now, you have been speaking of, clicked in my brain at that moment. Again, here's two very powerful masters saying, hold the line. And that's really what we're all doing in this experience every Thursday, and especially in our light when we're playing the light, we're holding the line. And I love that phrase, hold the line. Many people act like their job is to save the earth, and these spiritual masters talk about how they're doing this or someone else is doing that. I don't believe it rests on any one of us. I truly don't. I do my best every day, but I know this whole transformation of this planet is not based on me alone. But I love that image of all of us together, just holding the line, beaming love and light. And I'm told some of the biggest spiritual masters on the planet are in nursing homes where there's no expectations, there's no world they have to care, where they just sit there and beam light and love into the world. When we do our light work, it doesn't seem like anything. We're playing in the light. We're doing a guided visualization. We're beaming our love and light to different places and different things. But if you could see the impact on the planet, it is awe-inspiring. I had the privilege of visiting a friend of mine who was literally going through her death scenario. She was in intensive care in the hospital. She had been reading one of my books and hadn't been able to finish the book before she went through these series of medical maladies. And she came and she said, I didn't finish the book yet. I didn't finish the book. And her soul was in such torture. She hadn't finished the book. And so I called her husband and I said, Peggy is in a terrible state of distress. I'd like to go to the hospital. She was in intensive care at Rush Hospital in Chicago. I said, I'd like to go to the hospital and just send her energy. And he was this very big, very powerful judge in Chicago. So he himself was intimidating. And I said, but I want you there, and I want you to get permission from the hospital to make it okay, because in sending her the energy to make whatever she's choosing easier, she could die. We're not doing this to make her better, to heal her. We're doing it to make it easier for her. And so he made the arrangements and said, okay, he wasn't a believer or anything, but it's like, okay. And so at that hospital, the intensive care rooms were around a hub, and each hub had like a curtain that you pulled in front of it, and in the center of the hub was a nurse station. And so I asked two friends to go with me, because there is a power in numbers. And so, as I told him, we're not going to touch her. We're only going to just send love. That's all we're going to do. I was at the foot of the bed. My two friends were on each side of the bed, and she was hooked up to every machine. She had a series of crazy happenings, so that she was literally having one seizure after another, and this stayed unconscious and rigid on top of the bed. So she was just jerking constantly, and her face all contorted, really in a yucky place. And so we just sat there and sent love. Now, being an emergent in intensive care, she was hooked up to all these machines. We just saw all these machines in the distressed position. And as we sent love, you could see the machines go back to normal. You could see her body relax and stop seizing, and her relax into the bed. I mean, I have never had such visual feedback in anything I've done. About 20 minutes into it, you could feel the flow of energy just stopped. She had enough. And so I told her husband, I said, that's all we can do now. It's with Peggy to make her decision. She's in charge of this process. And so I got home. It was probably a 2-hour drive from the hospital back to my house. And when I got home, the phone is ringing. It's her mother. You've got to go back and do another one. You've got to go back. And she was in such distress over Peggy's condition. And I said, we will go back and do another session, but know that it's not for making Peggy better. This is not the purpose of this. It's to make it easier, to give Peggy the infusion of energy that she needs to get comfortable with whatever she's choosing. And so that was okay. Mother didn't care. She was just wanting Peggy to be literally better. And Peggy was such a beautiful, brilliant, powerful woman. I was honored just to know her. At any rate, we did a second session, and then pretty much a week later, she passed away. But she passed away in comfort and ease. She never regained consciousness, but she never began seizing or anything again. And Peggy left this planet. And she later told me that she left the planet because she had gotten so far off her path that there was no way she could get back to what her original life mission was. So she was just going to sort of jump out and start again. The point of the story is, going back to Becky's experience, is that when you're sending love, we don't have the means to measure it or determine the impact, but you can be sure that it is making one amazing difference. Many sources have told us it's not in the doing, it's in the being. When we connect the love that we are in our divine soul and let that emanate from us, we are literally changing the world. We're holding the line. We're sending that light and love into the planet. And we are here to help the planet move from a third dimensional state of distress, if you will, like Peggy's body was in distress. Well, the earth is in distress. The war, the fighting, the hate, the greed, the ugliness that's going on the planet, all that is hugely stressful for the planet. And the planet is a living consciousness, one that we have a hard time comprehending, but it's a living consciousness. And so when we move into that state of love and we use that love energy to assist, to balance, to heal, to whatever she uses the energy for, we're literally making a huge difference. We're more than you can imagine. So when you get up in the morning, if you just kiss the morning awake and send that smile, and when you smile, you're literally releasing various endorphins into your system that literally change your brain chemistry. And if you smile at someone, we have a natural reflex that if I smile at you, you have to smile back at me. It's the way our bodies work. And when I smile at you, I'm changing my chemistry. When you smile back at me, you are changing your chemistry. And when we then intentionally send love out into the world, we literally are changing the world. So if you do, each week I've been giving assignments. I don't know how people have been doing this week on their assignment, but for next week, I really want you just to be cognizant of smiling at anyone and everyone. They don't need to earn your smile. They don't need to, be whatever it is. They just need to exist. And when you smile at them, you'll see the smile come back. I think that's one of the things that COVID is most effective on. When people were all masked up, there was no purpose in smiling. Nobody could see it. And so now as people are unmasking, they're sort of being much more staid and serious, that we have to relearn how to smile. And so by smiling at everyone for absolutely no reason at all, and then sending that love out into the planet in any way that feels right, we are assisting Gandhi and Jesus and all the other beings on this planet and who've ever been on this planet. We're helping them hold the light, hold the line. Don't lose ground, but just hold the line. And in doing so, we can make a huge, huge difference. And with that, we're going to go play with the light. And we play with the light so that we do the job we came to do. So if you will, I want you first of all just to imagine what that looks like, feels like to you. It doesn't have to be anything. So however that, just right now, just send love to whomever you want. I'm going to send love to Becky, and with great gratitude for her email and experience and her courage to share the experience. Many of you had experiences that you haven't shared, and that let other people learn and grow from it. One of our regulars, Josie, is going through a challenging time and can't be with us right now, so we're going to send love to her and any other human being that may be needing or wanting that love. And then all the people who are our line holders. She said the multitudes holding the line. Just imagine them. And it was interesting, they were on sand. Sand is crystal. And they say in a grain of sand, there's enough energy that literally powers us for a week. We haven't even begun to tap in the energy on this planet. And so being on that sand magnifies our energy. Before I listed my house, I had bowls of sand everywhere from all the different deserts and beaches I've been on around the planet. So if you need any sand, let me know. I can send you a vial. But just imagine being in that line and sending love. And the more you send, the more you receive. No one standing out, no one trying to be top dog, but everyone just being in harmony, in unison with their intention to hold the line. So if you will, right now, I would like you to intend to go to center. When you are in center, you are as close as you can become to the divinity that you are. It is where you plug in to recharge, to refuel, to relax, to realize. And in that center, I also call it my happy place, so you can call it anything you want, but in that center, want you to imagine this huge pillar of light. We never expected to send our light alone out into the universe. We're always being recharged if we allow ourselves. So as we step into that pillar of light, we are being filled with light. And then we're sending light out from the universe, not just from us. We're not depleting our light, but we're using our light to be a vehicle for universal light. We bring in the light of all that is. And we set it out into the earth. And in that pillar that goes into the earth, we're literally connecting heaven to earth. We're all one. We're all here to share the light. So imagine being in that line in the sand and looking it around at all the other beings who donated their life, their experiences, their wisdom, their time to share love and light. You don't have to move mountains. You don't have to be the greatest author in the world. You don't have to be the greatest speaker in the world. You don't have to climb Mount Everest. You just have to be the light that you are and share it. Just imagine beaming out this light into the earth and smiling. Oh, such an easy thing. They say we're not happy because we don't smile because we're happy, but we're happy because we smile. So just this week, focus on smiling, making smiling facial expression, making smiling be your number one mission. And as you're smiling, imagine beaming out the love with that smile. And we're going to then send that love and light into the earth, filling every cell in, on, and around this planet with love and light. Filling every vacancy, filling every molecule, every atom, every creature, every vacancy, every void with love and light. If you are in, on, or around this planet, you cannot escape the love and light that we're sending out. Just see the earth being penetrated with this magnificent, radiant love and light. And with us in this process is our friends, Jesus and Gandhi. And then send love and light into the atmosphere. The atmosphere is a very important covering, protective layer for this planet. So just imagine filling the atmosphere with love and light. See it just rolling out like clouds around the planet. So the earth is surrounded with a blanket of love, unconditionally. The weather patterns are how the earth finds her balance, so love all the weather patterns. Just love them. Just love them. Now, there are those on the planet who are trying to interfere with the natural progression. They're trying to push you off your point of center so that you are not sending love and light. They're doing their best to upset the atmosphere, the weather patterns, the energy of the planet, even mucking with your life. So just love them. All those who are trying to impede the progress of this planet, love them all the more. And don't think that you can only send love in one direction. You can beam love in every direction simultaneously. And you can have it turn on like a sprinkler that runs when you go out and do other things. You can be as creative as you choose to be with this light and love. But we want to love all those people who are doing what they can do to stop the flow of love. And our job is just to love them. On this planet, we have what's called a mass consciousness, a collective consciousness that connects all sentient beings. And we're going to fill that consciousness with love, this huge vibration of love. So all of us are connected with that love. We impact the collective consciousness, and we are impacted by the collective consciousness. The more we intentionally fill it with light and love, the more it does its magic with light and love. On this planet, we have all kinds of leaders, all kinds of influencers. Some are working for the highest good, some are not. I want you just to imagine that every leader and every position on this planet is surrounded with our love and light. You don't need to know their names. You don't need to know where they're located. All you need to do is have the intention to send all those who are influencing, making decisions for impacting the direction of this planet. We just send them love and light. Whether they're influenced for the positive or the not so positive, doesn't make a difference. Our job is just to love them, sending love and light to them. Right now, we have a battle of leaders, past and future and present. We have people who are running for office and people who are in office, and they're making decisions and being influenced, all kinds of things, and our job is just to love them. And I want you to imagine the Capitol, the White House, the Pentagon, all these very important buildings in DC, and I want you to fill them all with love and light. I want you to imagine all the stacks of paper that are residing in those buildings. It could be bills, they could be proposals, they could be communications. Just imagine the stacks of papers, electronic and physical. And I want you to fill them all with love and light. So anyone and everyone who chooses to read any of these documents are going to experience this love and this light. I want you to imagine an obelisk like the Washington Monument in the center of each one of those buildings. And we're going to just infuse those obelisks, whether they're visible or not visible, with our love and light. And we're going to ask those obelisks to keep sending love and light 24/7. And we're going to ask all our heavenly helpers to keep refueling them so they're always beaming love and light. This is our country. This is our world. You made a huge commitment when you agreed to be born into the physical experience, and you have the right to make a difference. Your love and light does just that. We have all the people who work for these influencers as aides, as guides, as coaches, as assistants, as different work bees. Just imagine all the staff, all the helpers, and all the different positions, and just send them love and light. Now we're going to awaken all the past leaders of this planet, from our founding fathers all the way to present, all those who may no longer be in physical form, but still support the concepts of our Constitution, the freedoms of our Constitution. We ask them to rise up and join with us in sending light and love, so that our Constitution can be once again seen as the sacred guide for our spiritual truth established in this country, and its destiny is to become a beacon for the world. So just see good old Abe and Washington and Jefferson and all of those people who worked so hard to design and create, to conceive of, just to create a world that is 100% in harmony with divine will. Just see them all assisting us and sending a light and love. There is legions of angels and helpers in various forms with various names and titles working around this planet to assist us, whether you call them aliens or cosmic cousins, doesn't matter. Just ask them to continue to hold this country, this world in love and light. There are millions of people rising up around this globe to march in the streets, to offer the resistance to anyone and anything that wishes to control and manipulate and dominate our free will. Just imagine sending all of these resistors love and light. You may feel the need to join them, or you may not. Doesn't matter. But we can love and appreciate each of them for what they're doing. And just bubble them all with love and light. We have lots of things that are being used to control, manipulate, and steer the narrative, as they say, whether it's from the COVID or the jab or whatever. I want you to just imagine all those things that are attempting to control and dominate and love them. This is the game we chose to play. This is the game we came to play. And all we have to do is awaken who we are and send love and light and smile and know that we're holding the line. They can't win as long as we hold the line. So just imagine being in that wonderful, empowered group. It's just continuing to hold the light. And now I want you to imagine the concept of truth. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Just imagine truth. I'm going to see this sort of green sparkly. And truth is balancing, it's healing. So I see this sort of green sparkly glitter. It may look different for you. It doesn't make any difference. I'm just giving it a form. And then I'm going to imagine multiplying that form so many times and taking it up to the heavens and then releasing it. So these fragments of truth flutter to the earth, all over the earth. So everyone and everything has to recognize and be touched by truth. We don't need to label what truth is or isn't, not our job. But we have the opportunity of sending out truth so that everyone recognizes truth, aligns with truth. And then I want you to imagine that line of sacred souls who are holding the line. Just imagine filling that line and all those people who are doing so much with love and with light. We have to support the supporters. So just see this line being filled with that much more love and light. And since you've already been a part of this line, you're also filling yourself with this love and light. You're also opening up your heart to receive this love and light. You are both a sender and a receiver of this divine love. Let it transform every cell. Let it balance every place where you're out of balance. Let it re-establish your original DNA. Let it realign your immune system. Let this love and light, this magic power, infuse every cell of your body, awakening, aligning, literally creating joy throughout you. You are so much more than just a human being. You are a divine being who's come to this planet to make a difference. For this week, one of the many ways you're going to make a difference is just to smile and send love and light to anything and everything that catches your consciousness, knowing that everything you send out must come back to you. And then before we come back here and now, I want you just to take a moment and listen, because there are those in this line who have something to say to you. Listen to the message that you receive. In this planetary transformation that you are part of, we're all one. In fact, that's the journey that we're moving to, from separation to oneness. And you can start that oneness by just recognize that you are one with this very sacred line and all those very sacred souls that are part of it. You are one. You are not better than any one of them, and you are not less than any one of them. Jesus is your way shower. Gandhi gave us a more recent image of what peaceful resistance could look like. They are not wiser and smarter than you. They're not less wiser or smarter than you. It's time to call in your greatness, to live your biggest life and recognize you are so much more than just a human being. And every thought you think and every action you take and every word you speak has a tremendous power to create a ripple that goes into the universe. Be very conscious of the ripple that you start. Be very conscious of the ripple that you experience. Your life and every aspect of it is a product of your choice. Your choices. If you are not 100% happy with the life that you're living, look at new choices, make new decisions. You are so much more than you've been led to believe, and this world is so much more complex than what we dare dream. Take a deep breath, honoring and anchoring this amazing energy of the divine. And when you're ready, come back to the here and now. Honor yourself and everyone that's in the line. And Rebecca, again, I say thank you very much for sending your story. That was very powerful. And my new mantra is going to be hold the line. That's very powerful. When I first read that to myself, I mean, literally, I was in chills and tears. And I hope you understand how incredibly powerful that message was. So thank you. And I'm sure that's the beginning of what you're going to be receiving. Now, would you like to say something, please, to wrap up that experience?
Not really sure what to say.
What's in your heart?
Well, it happened a few months ago, and I've kind of just been mulling it over. For one, I wanted to share it, but it's, one of those things I can't really share it with many people I know. They think I was nuts, so. So it was nice to get the response from you that I received. I think actually I've had more experiences like that, but I've blown them off to think that it's just my imagination or.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's what we all do because we expect lightning bolts from heaven. We don't get lightning bolts from heaven. We get little ripples and raindrops. And if we don't pay attention to them, we lose them. And so I would recommend that you begin to go back and go, oh, what was the other one? And honoring the space that those experiences gave you. Each one was a tremendous gift. This was extremely powerful. And just the image changed me. And when I read that, it was really amazing. So again, I'm very, very grateful you shared that with me because I think it's very powerful. And again, for me, a reinforcement of what I've been teaching every week here about playing in the light. You don't have to know what you're doing. You don't have to do it right. You don't have to take a Reiki class, because a lot of people feel like you're going to do it wrong because you haven't taken Reiki 1, 2, and 3 and become a master teacher. Not true. You are light. You are love. Just use it. So.
Yeah.
And I was actually told not to take those classes. They were being offered at my bookstore, and I owned the bookstore, and I could go to all those classes for free. And I was told not to go because they would limit how I did things, and that not to do it. For some people, it gives them courage to use it, but we are evolving so fast that you have to feel free to change what you're getting. And Reiki teaches you've got to do it this way, in this order, and this symbol, and this thing. And we have to be courageous enough to go, no, that's not how I'm feeling. And I need to step out of that box and do it my way because we're here to advance the process.
And to me, that's kind of funny that you said that because I did take the Reiki class as a teenager. And if you notice, I'm in my 40s. So many years ago, people were like, what? They're like, Reiki? Like even still, I have someone's like, send me some Reiki. But I think that that's my natural brain style is always to mix my own spin on it too. So like I've been practicing, but my sister, who you mentioned about the Atlantean healer, I want her to start teaching some Reiki classes. And she was like, well, that's what she talked about. She's like, I was like, well, that's the thing. Take your classes and you teach them as the principles and then teach your added parts, because to me, that's part of what the master of a teacher is like you do put your own spin on it naturally, but you can teach them the principles and this is the foundations. But again, it's all within. So if you are looking to take Reiki, I'm doing my best to get my sister to start teaching. So let me know if you're be interested in something like that. You can privately message me.
I think that's how we are taught, just even in school. You're taught to like sit down, be quiet, do what you're told. You have to do it this one way, however they teach you. You're not really taught to think outside of the box.
Yeah, there's a right way of doing it, and you got to do it the right way, or else the world will blow up. And that just isn't the case. But for some people, by doing Reiki, it gives them the confidence and the language to play in the energy. So, I mean, I'm not at all knocking Reiki, I'm just saying it's not necessary. And in my life, I was absolutely told not to take any of these classes, not to have a guru that taught me the way to do it, because I'm constantly being given by my spiritual sources all kinds of stuff that I would never have thought. So trust that you're all connected, getting your information, doing it your way.
Well, and I think some of you that are on here too, is I think that some level deep within us, we've always not necessarily filled in that box very well of sitting quietly, paying attention. Like, I think we came in here with that programming, and I've talked about that before, even with religion. Like, you used to take us to different churches and that kind of thing at different points through our life, but at one point I think you stopped, just because we were so kind of and it took me the last year before I can really understand the Jesus. Actually, it was right before Egypt trip, I started really getting into the Mary Magdalene and the Jesus story, and then it started. But I like to take different classes and different teachers, or read different books, like even the Mary Magdalene, because there's certain things for me that's like, nope. And there's certain things like, yep, but it's a little bit this or that way. So I think it's important to ask for discernment as you're going through it. But I think a lot of us came in with that programming of, we're not supposed to be the ones sitting there paying attention. We came in here to break the programming. And as we get into the more of the unfolding of what's going on, I think looking at that, it's like, oh my gosh, no wonder I didn't want to pay attention. No wonder my whole soul was in another world, because it's like you were protecting yourself from the programming. So I think it's important to trust and then learn. And again, with everyone and us, ask for discernment before you take my truth. But yeah, that was beautiful. And I got chills when you were reading it too, like just the trust that. I'm proud of you. I feel like it also gives other people permission, like we don't, it's totally normal. It's totally possible. It's totally beautiful to get those kind of messages. And I think it's powerful too, is like, know who to share that with. Like there's certain people in your life that you can talk to about certain things, and certain people you don't. And I think it's wise to use discernment. I think that will be the word of the day.
And because this was Becky's experience, I asked her permission to share it. I would not share it and tell her story if it was not something that she was comfortable with. So again, I thank you for giving me permission to share your story.
Well, just during meditation, when you said listen for a message, the one I heard was thank you for sharing it.
And I got chills with that. So yeah, thank you. Well, and think, this is going to be online. There'll be people who listen to it. There'll be people who tap into it by accident. There's always that accident. And so you don't know where this ripple will ever stop. We know it's starting with you and starting here, but we don't know where it's going to stop. So I just find it very powerful, very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Mafioso said, I almost never follow anything verbatim. I integrate whatever feels useful to me into my own system and then discard the parts that do not resonate with me. And I think that's super powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're asking for truth, that the whole first thing we did with the truth and guidance and protection is really important, because when we ask to know truth, what's not truth is going to become so very obvious to us. I had an accident. I planted carrots last year. I didn't know carrots are a biennial plant. They have to go through 2 years in order to complete its life cycle. Who knew? But anyway, I planted them in tubs, and carrots also are cold weather crops, so you can eat them as the weather changes. So I just left them in the ground, and I'm eating carrots until the ground froze and I couldn't get carrots out anymore. Well, then this year, those same carrots continue to grow and produce seeds. I didn't even know how carrots produce seeds, but I've got all these incredible carrot seeds. And when you harvest the seeds, they've got like little fur coats on. and you have to break the fur coats off and then separate the fur coats from the seeds. And they're teeny little things. They're really teeny little things. And that's sort of how truth is. They come coated with all kinds of stuff that may not help or serve purpose. So you have to break away all the little fur coats in order to find the kernels of what's important. But if it's your desire to harvest those seeds of truth, you'll do it. You'll recognize it's important.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so excited. I got enough carrot seeds to last me a lifetime. If you need any carrot seeds, let me know, because I got tons of carrot seeds.
Well, I think that also is powerful, that the universe naturally gave you all these carrot seeds, because I think it's going to be important as we move in. Someone asked a question earlier on the thing about food supplies, and there's a couple of people commenting that they also believe that might be shifting and altering. So I think it's very important to use your discernment.
All right. First of all, you're talking so fast, I'm not getting what you're saying. So tell me what the questions were, and then tell me what the statements were in a slower voice.
Well, to go through all the comments I'm just going to sum it up.
Okay.
There's actually about 3 people that were commenting about the food supply chains, and that it could be as early as Tuesday. Someone said that to go get your groceries, but again, I put
follow
on
your heart, follow your heart, follow your heart.
I do believe that there will be things happening, but I do feel it'll be in different areas and different stuff, and so it's not so noticeable across.
Well, Central Tennessee just got flooded big time and lost lots of lives and lots of property and lots of land. I mean, it was a huge catastrophe. If you're in Central Tennessee right now, your huge food shortage has already started because the stores were wiped out, the crops were wiped out, everything already happened. So it's not going to be like universal at one point in time, but just be aware that the universe is preparing us to become self-sufficient. What does that look like for you? It's being planting a garden. I got tubs all over my patio. I don't have a ground space I can plant them in because my yard is so shaded. That's certainly one of the intentions I have for when I move to my new home someplace. But each one of you are being guided to do something or not. And whatever it is, it's your job to follow it. No right or wrong, just choices.
And and that's follow your heart. What is it that you might really need? Let's say you have a year, let's say you have this, like, do you have some basic things? But it's very important to listen to your own guidance.
And you may be at a place where you don't need anything. So again, you got to trust whatever is going on in you.
Yeah, there is conversations that I've heard about the truck drivers banding together, because there's a lot of doctors and nurses and healthcare, all the frontline people, fire department. There's the LAPD, LA Fire Department. There's a lot of places that are sticking up and saying no, and they're getting fired. And
that's true for around the world. That's true for around the world. It's not just in this country. It's around the world. I posted a thing today with the streets of Paris being packed with protesters who are saying, we're not going to go along with this.
And a lot of them are all camping out in front of the restaurants, picnicking. There's their protest, which I think is brilliant. Just so you know, we have 45 seconds remaining on Instagram, and then it will cut me off. It usually likes to cut me off about 20-30 seconds early. So
go ahead and start it over again right now. So it's a good point to take a breath, and then you can tell me the other points that you didn't finish telling me about.
So Instagram, I'll be back in a minute. It's going to take me a minute to be able to post it. And then by the time it allows me, I'll go live. So give me about a minute, or you're welcome to join us on Zoom at the same Zoom number, every 428-733-218. All right. See you in a minute. Love you. I should have looked who it's on. That was the fastest, but it's still frozen, so it gives me a second to.
We've been on for over an hour now, which is amazing how fast the time goes.
We've been on live for an hour, but we've been on the phone for over an hour. Yes. takes a minute to have your phone not frozen.
When I was given a lot of information about the angels, and I would tell people, ask the angels, that they're just here to help. They, and I was given this vision of like a big ballroom with the angels standing around waiting for someone to ask them to do something, because they can't do anything unless you ask. And so
hold on for a second, because I think I like that statement.
Well, this was for Becky.
Huh? Hang on. Conversations.
Notice how white my hair is. This is my natural color. I did not become platinum.
I think it looks the same as it did last week, right? Does anybody think it looks lighter? She got it cut and she feels it looks lighter, but I'm like, it's the same color it's been.
Okay. Think good.
We are officially back to part 2. Mom started talking about the angels and you having to ask for permission. So I'm going to let her come back. But welcome back, part 2, Cosmic Combo.
Well, this is a follow-up comment to Becky, who said that in her experience that she was thanked for sharing her story. And so it reminded me of in my spiritual journey that I was given lots of information about the angels, and I was shown a vision of like this huge ballroom with these angels standing around waiting for someone to ask them to do something, because they couldn't do anything. They can't interfere with Earth unless you asked, or they're invited in. So there was all these angels waiting to be asked. So I was telling everybody, you ask the angels, just whatever you want, just ask the angels. And I kept a small army of angels busy doing all the things that I wanted to have done. And one day I got a thank you letter from the angels that I had put a lot of them to work with telling my story. So I think that's kind of the same thing. I'm
gonna actually say welcome back to part 2. For some reason that didn't go live. So will you start your angel story again, please, for all of those amazing folks that are joining us on Instagram for your angel story?
And this is the reason why you need to be on the Zoom call, so you don't have to get the repeats. In my spiritual journey, I have been given lots of information about the angels, and I was given a vision of like a big ballroom with these angels standing around twiddling their thumbs waiting for something to do. And the angels cannot do anything for humanity or for you unless you invite them in. It's their laws they have to follow. And so I'm keeping a small army of angels busy with my requests, and then I'm telling everybody at every workshop I was doing and whatnot to ask the angels for help. And so at one point I was sent a thank you letter from the angels that I had put a lot of them to work, and they were so grateful. And it's like Becky was saying, that she was thanked for sharing her story. And that's sort of the point, that we do get gratitude back when we do our job. It was a choice Becky had to share her story, and it's made a difference. It already makes a difference, and it's wonderful proof of what I've been saying all along, that our light and love makes a huge difference, even though it doesn't seem like it, because we're used to, taking a bulldozer and knocking down a tree. We can see the impact of what actions we've taken. But with light and love, it's more invisible, and we having to trust that you're doing what you need to do when we're just being light and love and sending the light and love out. So that's the point of the story for the 3rd time. Ta-da! Okay, and then you were saying something else that was said online.
So, there is discussion about truck drivers on August 31st pausing their deliveries as their protest to stand up for freedoms, because
we're going to see more and more resistance come up to it. And I think that's where Gandhi is really important, that we need to go back and watch some of the documentaries on Gandhi and read about his life and how he did passive resistance. He never fought it. He never stood against it. Neither did Christ, for that matter. They just, in their own way, let it pass over them. And I think that's an important message for all of us. It does no good to fight the process, but we can make a difference by passively non-compliance. And the truck drivers are certainly modeling that, as are lots of other groups, and those groups are growing around the world. And for that, I'm very grateful. So I send them love. Okay, anything else?
So I don't know exactly what I was going to say earlier because I'm not there anymore, but great question from Juan Carlos in Mexico. How can I ask for the heart to guide me, to show me the path? I texted in there, intentions and choosing to, but I'm going to let you answer that.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't ask for the heart to guide, because we've broken down the spiritual truths into things that we can understand. And so we see the heart as sort of representing the divine guidance. But in truth, our soul is much bigger and more encompassing than the heart. And it's really the heart is the megaphone for the soul. And again, this is Heather Harder's interpretation of a very complex process into words that kind of make sense, that you get the concept of it. But we're connected to our soul. Our soul is not an individual soul, it's a soul family. We have, if you think about our soul being in 500 places at the same time, feeding information into a soul hub, and we're just part of one of those threads, and that information we hear through following our heart. But it's not the heart that's guiding us, it's all this information that's filtering through the heart. And the universe is very literal. So if you ask for the heart for a specific purpose, then that's all it can do. And so that's why I use very generic terms like divine truth, divine wisdom, and divine guidance, because I know that's coming from the highest source. But what the source is, I don't care. Just let me hear the divine truth. Let me recognize divine truth. Let me be ever connected to the divine wisdom. And so that's sort of the words I use. And it's what I recommend, because if you're saying, I only want my thumb to give me the answer, then you may have a whole cohort of others that are much wiser than your thumb, but you've now mandated that one body part as the only one you'll listen to. And so it just isn't, I don't think it's as wise as it could be. You'll learn something, you'll do whatever, but it may not be your greatest source. And we're, after all, learning to live our biggest life, which means, in Becky's instance, she had Gandhi and Jesus there talking to her. That's a very powerful source of wisdom and information. And so we don't want to do anything that's going to block that source out. And if we only want the heart to talk to us, we may be stopping an experience that's much bigger than our heart. So I'd say just be open and be generic. I want to live my biggest life. I want to serve the greatest number. I want to be as true to my purpose as possible. And whatever happens, happens.
So now I know what I was going to say because she rewrote it. So Esme said, I was saying I was told by two different people that I'm protected. And I was wondering how they know and what they were trying to do. I just said, thank you. Now I am protected. And then they sensed as I walked by only.
All right. First of all, it's pretty convoluted, so I'm going to do my best. But before I go into that, did Juan Carlos have any follow-up question or comment?
He said, thank you all. It rings a lot.
Good. My thumb and I thank you.
He gave you.
All right. Now going back to being protected. First of all, if you can have all kinds of things happening, and my mother was a very protecting lady. Put on your coat, Heather, you're going to catch cold. Be sure and do this. It was a protection that she saw as helpful based on worry and lack of trust, rather than really a spiritual awareness of protection. So when you're telling me protection, I don't know what that means, and it's going to have different definitions based on where it's coming from and what it means. We have very controlling people on this planet who are very protective of their children or their spouses or their partners, and it's not healthy. So we're going to just again go back to those generic terms: divine protection, and if it serves you, empower it. If it doesn't serve you, neutralize it, because I don't know where the source of that protection is, and I don't know what they're saying by it. But I think it's really important to know that everyone who's come here for a major mission is given hordes and hordes of resources to assist you to be successful. No one comes into Earth as a light worker, unarmed, unprotected, alone. We have to discover our resources. We have to discover our team. We have to allow that divine forces to work with us, sort of like the military. You join the army, and well, since Afghanistan is in the news right now, we'll use that. You join the military and you're shipped off to Afghanistan. But before you go there, you've already had boot camp. You've already been taught how to protect yourself. You've already been given guns and ammo. You've already been given protective clothing, protective maneuvers. You're given whatever you need as to be as safe as possible in that foreign land. And that's sort of how it is when we come to this planet. We're given everything we need. It doesn't mean that we use it. It doesn't mean that we access our training, our skills, but we have it. And so the more you can trust yourself and your own divine connection and the divine wisdom and your divine talents and all of those things, and I do really highly recommend you use the word divine in front of everything, because that filters out the whole crap and you're just playing with the divine. If it's divine, it means it has to be connected to the God source. And if you're connected to the divine source, then you are as playing with as high of forces as you can. Someone said, but there's only one God. Yeah, but God has a pretty big team. And so the angels may be part of God's team. And so you're asking God for help, but he may send the angels. I mean, so it doesn't, and I say he because it's easier to use it as that pronoun, but as we get sensitive to it, I do not believe God is a male. I do not believe God is a female. God is an essence, an energy, a point of wisdom, a presence. And so, but we have, when we're calling in that divinity within ourselves and around ourselves, we're calling in that whole force. And so I would, no matter what someone tells you about being protected, I would always call in your own protection. And every day is a new day by design. And so therefore, starting every day, you brush your teeth every day, you bathe every day, whatever you do every day, make calling in protection, guidance, and truth as part of that routine. Drink your orange juice and you call in protection, guidance, and truth. Brush your teeth and just see protection, guidance, and truth being a part of your routine. Anything else?
No, well, as Meg's put in there, both people are spiritual and extremely sensitive to others' energy. The other person, I was told, does dark magic and does bad things to hurt people. Maybe I was unbothered by either of their energy. And there's a follow-up by Juan Carlos. To me, as I think, honestly, to be honest, neutrality in those comments is a great thing because you're not attached to either, and you don't let what they say affect you. That makes sense. So I think that's powerful because you're in your power. You're not giving it away to them. So I think if you didn't have a reaction, that's perfect.
Well, it's no matter what anybody else says, it's what is necessarily good for you. I mean, someone may say, "Oh, you don't really need vitamin D because you've got plenty." Okay, but vitamin D is part of our thing that empowers our immune system. I want my vitamin D, whether it's from the sun or from a pill. I want my vitamin D. And so because someone else says you have this, it doesn't mean that you don't want to continue to access your source of that. So just trust yourself.
Sometimes people will, if they say those kind of things, I'll just be like, thanks for seeing me. Like you can, sometimes you recognize when you can feel it, when you see your soul or see that connection. And I think that there's not a lot of people that truly you can feel seen by. And sometimes a stranger can say the most perfect things that you're like, wow, thank you. Like, for seeing me, because it's true. It's like, wow. But again, so perfect. Okay, so Juan says a follow-up comment on that is, when you recognize something someone else is saying as your own, what is the most efficient way to neutralize the story in your own reflection?
Well, your intention is the most powerful. Everything is energy. And so energy can easily be shifted, changed, altered, sent. It can't be stopped. It can't be done away with. It can be transformed. So if someone's saying something that you don't want to be part of your experience, just imagine flipping it, changing the energy. Trying to think of an example. If you're here seeing somebody do something and you're recognizing this is maybe part of they're mirroring you and you don't like that in you, then imagine just transforming that energy. Let's say they're activating their pettiness or their jealousy, and you're seeing that maybe that's a part of something that you're feeling as well, that you see that green energy is of jealousy and turn it into pink. And soften it and love it and embrace the insecurity that it came from. So your intentions are really all that it takes to switch, to shift.
Perfect. Well, and he said exactly my question, what you said, Stacey. I think, and I find I'm guided a lot by spirit to just be like, say this to this person or do this. And sometimes it doesn't make sense to me. And it actually started when I was getting a visual with someone, and because sometimes people's bodies talk to me quite a bit actually. And I kept seeing this like stone in her chest, but it wasn't like a crystal or an amethyst or anything like shiny and sparkly. It just was like a big rock stone. And I wanted to be like, well, it should be like a crystal or something. It's like, but Stacey, that's changing it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I just said, I don't know if this makes any sense to you, but I just see like a rock, not a crystal, but just like the cement stony rocks, like that just look like a rock. And she started crying, and immediately that meant a huge thing for her. So you're not always meant to say the message or understand it, I should say. But I think it's important to, I don't have expectations on it either. So when you have, this is to me going in the circle as it goes on both sides of it. But when you have attachments or expectations, it's like an energetic cord that doesn't keep you in your power. And so if I were to have expectations of what her reaction was, like it can cut you off, right, from the actual energy of it, if that makes sense. And I think
the other person may not get it. She may say, no, that doesn't make any sense at all to me at all. She may not get it at all. But you spoke your truth and you released it. Like say, no expectations, no whatever. And I've had people that years later come back to me and say, I finally got it. It makes sense to me now. And so you just have to trust to say or do whatever feels right in the moment and let it go.
Yeah. And I think for that, like when you're receiving those kind of comments, I find when my self-esteem is in a healthier place, I'm more neutral in it. I don't, in the past, I used to need someone to say this or that because it was like, oh, it made me feel like, yeah, okay. And I don't need, and if you ever need those kind of words from other people's, then look at that. Like, what are you not giving yourself? What are you not showing up for yourself? Where are you denying that? And it's a big lesson, attachments and expectations, but it's really powerful when you can move beyond. And yes, it can be beautiful. It's just like if you are speaking your truth right now and you are pro this or anti this, it's amazing the amount of comments that come back, both love and hate. And it's like, it's becoming neutral with it, but there's, if you're finding a lot of resistance or anger or an emotional thing, then I think it's also, could be a lesson. And I think right now more than ever, it's about honoring each other, being kind to one another, but also standing in your truth and providing each person have the freedom and liberties to stand in their truth. We are the one country in this entire world that has life and love and freedom all in, oh God, the word's escaping me as I started saying it.
Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Is that what you're going for?
Yes, that's what I'm going for. And to me, that's important to preserve, period. Doesn't matter what the issue is. It doesn't matter what the thing is, but it is your God-given right to be able to choose what makes you happy, regardless. That's important in my truth.
Okay. You got a crew watching you now, Rebecca. The
Yep.
doggies are at the window. Okay. It looked like ghosts for a bit until they started taking shape.
I thought about that when I sat here.
No, they're soaking up the energy too. They're fine. Okay.
There was a question that's so Juan said yes, that makes sense, and then it's coming. I tend to expectations of others of the same I do for them. I know I shouldn't, but I do. I don't know why. And then she put tend to have, and then Juan said I feel you at her, and it's probably happens because we put ourselves outside the present moment. I think it can happen for different times, different things. And also could be programming, it could be old patterns. So just know that it's all divinely perfect. But be kind on yourself when you're moving through things. Do you want to talk about the energies on the planet, Mom? Because I know personally, I haven't been able to sleep. Most people, I don't know if anybody else on here, but for the last 3 of the 4 nights, I don't sleep till 4 or 6 in the morning. Is that anybody else going through that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's think a glass of water. And someone has just drank a gallon of water, and now they've got to drink another glass of water. What experience they're going to have. And then let's think of somebody else who's been lost in the desert and hasn't had any water for days, and they drink a glass of water. How they both process that glass of water is going to be very, very different. Someone who is not stabilized in their energy and they take in this energy, it's going to cause a completely different experience than, say, me, who's been playing with energy for over 30 years and learning how to stabilize and use this energy. It's not going to affect me the same way. So it's very hard for me to talk about energy as if we're all the same and that we all receive the same energy in the same way. Because just like on this call, we usually have people from 4 or 5 different countries. And we have different sectors on the planet. We have different sources of that energy. And then we have the suns and all the other kinds of influences sending energy into the planet. And each of us are in a different place in our life and are absorbing that energy and processing that energy different. So for some people, it may be an extremely powerful force, like a fireman's hose that blows you away. And you're just like, oh my God. And you just can't handle it and you're blown away. For others, it may be like a sprinkler can and it's not a big deal. So so you have to sort of be mindful of yourself And again, it goes back, this is a very individual journey. No two of us are using the same words or having the same experience, or will end up using it the same way. So it's really important to recognize when you are having these experiences, I don't say this again, journal it, write it down. You'll find that oftentimes, and I call them teams, you may call them anything you want, but there's different teammates that have come in, share a purpose, and that your team will experience the things the same way, the energy, but someone on another team doesn't. Also, it's oftentimes not necessarily energy, but we do missions, we do skirmishes in our dreams time. And so you could have been doing drills all night long. We practice vacating the earth, we practice the various things. So when it happens, it seems like second nature. If you've ever had some bizarre thing happen in your life and you just go into automatic pilot and you do everything right, and you go, how in the hell did I know how to do that? How did I manage that? It's because you rehearse that. The important things in your life you will have rehearsed in your dream state. So when it happens in the physical, you know exactly what to do and how to do it, and there's no hesitation, there's no question. And so I don't choose to talk about the energy so much as helping people understand that they need to trust and follow their own inner guidance, because you all have everything you need. You're all much more powerful than you've been led to believe. You have many, many more skills and abilities than what you've been taught, but you have to trust them and begin to expand those skills in order to activate them. I don't like mucking up my brain with a whole bunch of stuff, so I tend to watch, and I don't have traditional TV, so I have like Netflix and Prime and that kind of stuff. And so when I watch a show, I will watch that same show from beginning until the last season ends. So I only have one thread going on in my head at a time, and I usually have that on when I'm eating because I don't like to eat alone. It's sort of my companion for meals. The show that I'm watching now is Flash, and it's gone up and down, where sometimes it's better than others, but it's my go-to show until I finish all the seasons. But in that, there's a catastrophic something that releases an energy that activates, based on what they were doing at the time, it activates powers. And based on the powers that you get, some people use them for good, some people use them for not so good. So the metahumans are sort of the beings who've been affected by this energy, that everybody was, and the metahumans that are trying to destroy the planet are the bad guys, and then Flash and his good guys are doing their best to neutralize this energy. That's the overall plot of the thing. But what happens is they're all discovering the powers they have, because there's no history for it. There's no instruction manual. They're just sort of discovering they can do things as they do them. And I think that's very much sort of what everybody's doing. We all have powers beyond our imagination, but you have to activate them. You have to step into them. You have to show up for them and trust them and use them in order to activate them. And I don't really recommend Flash because it's long and convoluted, and there's lots of things, but it's what I'm using right now, so therefore it's easy for me to use it as an example.
Well, and there's a couple of things on there too, like, yes, someone laughed and I said they do the same, and then Nicole was talking about believing in superheroes, and I think that is a deep down truth, is we know we have magical powers because we've had lifetimes with them. Sometimes, like, I go to do things and I'm like, oh, it's not activated this lifetime, like, or it's like funny because it's like it's almost like those just doing things, you're like, oh, okay, like, oh yeah, that's not happening yet. Another thought that came up too with Esme when your conversation.
Well, let me stop and say, the powers that you're calling magic are not magic. They're very traditional powers once we understand how to use energy, light, and the various forces on the planet, right? When you understand energy, you can attract it and repel it with your intentions, because your intentions is the manipulating force for the energy. And so we haven't got to that point of being able to use our energy yet. Gravity is a force that brings us down. It pulls us to the earth. It's what we call gravity. But once we truly understand gravity, we can use the force of gravity to lift us up, like the hovercrafts and whatnot. We understand wind is a one directional force, but once we understood wind, we can use that one directional force to go upwind, downwind, crosswind, in circles. We can set the sails to do anything we want with this one directional force. So it's about all of us becoming much more tuned to the natural force of the planet and being able to understand them, to use them. It's not magic powers, it's very much natural powers once we understand the forces that we're playing with and understand how they work, and not just this accept the truth we've been given. I posted something. If you're not my friend on Facebook, become my friend on Facebook. But I posted a letter. They're now releasing the letters that Einstein wrote when he was alive, but they had agreed to keep them for at least 20 years after his death before they made anything public. And so his daughter is beginning to let them go, make them public. And one that they just released was a letter that Einstein wrote to his daughter about the forces of love and how that will be what is discovered as the most powerful force on the planet. And he gave a formula for the, and I'm getting chills as I'm saying this, for the love energy. And I think, and certainly in my world anyway, Einstein is one of the most brilliant men who've lived on this planet, not because of what he knew, but because what he was able to learn from this planet and its various forces. And so I highly recommend going to my thread and reading Einstein's letter and recognizing that when we're playing with love, we are literally playing with the highest forces of energy on the planet. And once we understand how to manipulate that energy in a healthy way, we'll begin to understand how to manipulate every energy in a healthy way. And so then it's just calling the glass to us. We don't have to pick it up and bring it to us. It's calling things in.
Well, and that's a powerful thing that some people just noticed too. Like Esme said, I noticed at work when I mention someone, they pop up right after that. She's like I invoked them. And there's a lot more of that happening. Even literally, I was on a phone call with my girlfriend recommending a movie, looked it up because I didn't remember the name of it, got the name of the movie. And literally an hour later on the same phone call, she looked, it was not even an hour, looked to see like, where is it playing again? And the movie name had changed. And I know, I saw the movie in the movie theater. I know the movies, and the movie title is a different title now. Like trippy things. Even Mom and I went to the movie theater, and I know I put a water bottle in my purse. It wasn't there. And I'm like, okay. And so I think there is a lot of things shifting and happening and coming in. Like even I went somewhere, I'm like, I think they're going to be there. They weren't there, but within about 2 minutes, that person arrived. It was like, yay, I knew you were coming. I could feel it. And so there is a lot more of that, I think, coming, which is why it's so important to get to be friends with the mind, and understanding the thoughts subconsciously are so important right now, because it's what is creating. And so I think at some level it is like you invoking them. It's you're energetically bringing them in. And that's Dispenza even talks about that in the energetic sense, is that every word you speak has a vibration, and the more emotion you have in it, actually, so the energy is going out like into the universe, and then the emotion pulls it back in. So it's the spelling, right? It is the more powerful. And I would say also it's super important who you are around right now. Who do you want to be more like? Who do you want to embody more? Because you will be, in my opinion and my truth, the more you're around your empowered I like the word magic, so I just use the word magical. Aligned, alive, whatever the word you want to use. But if you're tapped into your, like now I'm all like word conscious because of you, but if you're using your magical powers, I find the more you're around other people who are in theirs, it's like, poof, you both get a little bit liver, a little bit more. It's like so much more clear, so much more focused, and so much more there. And I think it's also important to not have the expectations, because again, I've had my mom in my life my entire life. I was 12 when she was talking about spirit communication and interdimensional communication. So I grew up a very normal having those kind of things and judging myself like, oh, I don't have the knowledge that mom has. Mom has all this access and all this power. So I denied mine a lot in a long time, and like, oh, nope. And so until I stopped comparing, until I stopped judging myself for not being as powerful as mom or those kind of things. And so I went through a lot about that. And so it's really important, I think, to move through those expectations, to move through and just be honoring. And I like when I get those little things, I'll say things, but again, I don't hold value. If they agrees with them, great. If not, it's great too. And sometimes you don't know what it is, but yeah. I mean, funny story. I sent someone, I don't know why, it was weird, but it was, you know how Instagram, the algorithms are so bizarre. Sometimes you get people, I have no idea who they were, but this person came up and I was like, wow, this is her energy reminding me of somebody else. Like I thought they'd be a good pair. And I sent that to them saying, I don't know if you know her or not, but I think you should. It ended up being the only ex-wife this person has ever had. And I was like, oh, I just sent someone their ex-wife. I don't know what that's about. Like, but that was weird. And so again, you never know what that is to buy, but it's so I was like, my foot tastes really good right now. Anyways, okay, so changing subject real quick, because this is another question that came in from Gosha. I get frustrated. And by the way, we still have over 4 countries on just our chat. I get frustrated and say things, ha ha ha, in my head, and then quickly realize how powerful words are and cancel it. Yes, it has just been one of them days. And that's it. Sometimes we do that, but that's powerful. Cancel, erase, and replace is my go-to little quote. And then
I do the do not engage. That's what I keep hearing in my head. Someone will say something to me like, do not engage, just keep going.
Sometimes I want to, and I'm like, wait, where is this coming from? Is this, I'm like, oh, okay, this isn't going to serve. I have to either like, I'll find that like halfway through the post. I'm like, and I'm like, wait, is this really? And I'm like, no. Okay. So it's just, yeah.
I had lunch day with a friend of mine who I've been a friend with since 1st grade. And so we've been longtime friends, but we're very different in our perspective to life. And so basically the things that I support, she absolutely does not, and vice versa. And so she'll bring up a topic and I say, well, just agree to not agree. And that's how we deal with it. So we just move on from that. And so it's not, if you only look at and play with people who agree with you, you'll never grow and expand. But just, you don't have to agree with everything. No matter if they're your best friends, you can just agree not to agree. And that's okay. So it's very important to be true to your own truth and not agree just because you feel the peer pressure to agree or whatever.
So,
all right, we're going to stop in 9 minutes. So what are the questions that are coming up for 9 minutes?
Important, because Juan Carlos said about the energy. He said, yes, this weekend I went through depression and grief, and now it's like a valley of fear and judgment acknowledging.
Well, and it goes back to just like Rebecca, when she was watching TV and seeing all this stuff on TV, she felt desperation. So when you feel it, I mean, you really want to feel it. Don't try to deny it or pretend, because if we're spiritual, we don't have this and that. It's baloney. Just feel whatever you're feeling, but go to questions. Why am I feeling this? What is this teaching me? Why am I going through this? What am I supposed to do about it? How is it helping my journey? You know, so go to your questions, and I promise you the universe will give you the answer. Just don't go to affirming what you're feeling. Oh, I feel like shit. I'm so depressed. I feel terrible, and blah, 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 because then you're just making it worse. So just when you feel something, be fully present with the feeling. Don't try to deny it or suppress it or pretend it doesn't exist, but be fully present, and then go to questions. And that's how it will serve you. I mean, we all benefited from the questions that Becky asked. And that was part of the reason I wanted to share it, because it's such a great modeling process.
Very beautiful. If you missed that and you're joining on late, I would recommend watching the first part because it was really powerful. Mom read the email from Becky, and she's right there on the screen, right there
in the dark.
So the other part I want to put on that is that I have been also feeling a lot of denseness, and a lot, like the other day I had a lot of tears. And I find when I check into it, again, this is my truth, is that I feel part of why I'm here is to help alchemize that. Because part of my gift is empathy, like I can feel people's everything, especially their pain or what they're thinking or what they're feeling and the heaviness or whatnot. And so I do believe that some of us are here to literally feel for the collective consciousness, that's as a whole, right? It's why we send love to it during our lights. If you missed that, we do that in the beginning of every Thursday. We'll do this every week. And it feels to me that it's like, okay, I can move through it. I'm not attached to it. I'm not judging it. I'm just allowing it. And also within that, I can like, if whatever you resist persists. So I move into it and I really feel it. What is this teaching me? What is this? Is this mine? That's always a question I ask. And then I like to find the piece of love and look at the lessons, what it's teaching you, what it's gifting you with. And then I like to do the alchemize. And again, I said this before, but I feel like we are in a major wash missing cycle. And it's like we thought the wash was the hard part, or showing you shadow and getting through those things. But now it's like a lot of this stuff is being pulled out and coming out fast and quick, because in my truth, as we're going into a higher vibration, the lower vibrations, the lower energies, the denseness will hold us down. It prevents that. So being able to love all those aspects, whether it's through the collective, whether it's this, but the intention is to neutralize it with love, but not in a way that, okay, I'm just going to pretend it's not there. It's a little bit of a, if you're meant to do it, I think you're naturally going to know what to do and how to do it.
And if you don't naturally know what to do, ask yourself and ask the part that knows, and you'll be given the answers. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Any other comments?
Someone said praying for Afghanistan, and I would say absolutely. But there's something about that whole thing to me that just doesn't add up. It feels very much like it's part of the plan and programming. So I would also ask to know truth within that, because I think that I feel what we're being shown and seen and told is not my truth. So listen to your own.
Well, pretty much figure anything you're getting through mainstream media is a distortion. So if you start with that premise, then you don't get too hooked up in that.
Earlier, you said about a 1 grain of sand. You were told how powerful it was, but you went googly in your sound. So can you say how powerful?
Well, just that in a grain of sand, I mean, that there is more energy that is needed to light up a city for a week. You know, so I mean, we're just learning how to access energy. We're, playing in wind energy and solar energy now, and but there's so many more energies that we can have access to, and free and ever present. Tesla was tapping into that and met a demise because the world wasn't ready for it. So when we keep using love energy, eventually we will be ready for it. Laura, you've been very quiet. Anything you want to add or say or ask or anything as we?
No, not tonight.
Okay. Well, we'll just send you lots of love. Becky, anything you want to add, since a lot of the tonight was centering around your experience?
You told me years ago that one of my major lessons was learning to trust. Is this it? Am I getting it? Am I moving past it? Did I learn the lesson?
I think no, no. Let's pretend that you feel the need to step off of a 50-story building. If you trusted, you would do it without hesitation because you're getting that inner divine guidance. You're not there yet. I mean, they're not going to ask you to do anything to hurt yourself, first of all. But that's the level of trust. You know, when I got the urge to go to Egypt, and I knew I had to get to Egypt, and I dropped everything in my life. I canceled my classes at the university. I did everything I needed to go to Egypt, even though there was everything in the world working against me at the time. But I knew that if I'm being asked to go to Egypt, I'm going to Egypt. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. That's a level of trust that you opt in until you're ready to drop everything. And when I was told to run for president, I mean, that was not my idea. It's like, oh my God, I hate competitions. I'm not good with attention on myself, and all of a sudden run for president. Oh my God. But I knew that it was something that was being asked to do, and I had to do it. And so you are not yet ready to activate. In fact, I have what I consider the 3 levels. I don't know if you can read this or if it's backwards. 3 levels of spiritual awakening. The first is just to be aware that there is a level, there is awakening. That's level 1. And then aware is, okay, and now you're looking for signs and meaning and significance and whatever. I think that's a stage you're in. Activate is when you do whatever you need to do without hesitation. You're not quite there yet. I mean, you're moving closer. Sharing your story, getting the story, trusting the story was a huge step in that process.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you're still in that stage where you would find excuses or justifications or rationales why you can't do something, then you're not fully in the activate stage.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
But I'll let you know when you're getting closer.
What was the first step?
To become awake, just awake. Like all of a sudden you realize the world is not what you've been told that it is, and things are different than what you expect. And so
second step?
What I consider that's the first stage, just sort of awakening, and just awakening to there's something else.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what it is. Awake. And then aware.
Okay, awake. Yep.
Aware and activate. So it's like novice, intermediate stage, and then full-blown action. And activate means they tell you to go out on the street and wait for the ship to arrive. You're going to do it, even though it doesn't make sense. All the mind fights it. You know, if that's what you're being given, that's what's going to happen. So, and you don't get to that level of trust by just, you know, I mean, in the beginning, I tested everything. I checked out everything. I was not because I'm getting this dead person giving me this information. It wasn't trusting. I had to develop that level of trust, like you would any relationship.
Yeah.
So, but keep on keeping on. And I think trust is big for a lot of people on this planet, because we have suffered a lot of challenges with it. I mean, as I said, my beheading was not fun. So learning how to speak up and trust that if you get beheaded, you'll live through it, which sounds crazy in itself, but it is my truth.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Anything else, Stacey Elizabeth, that you want to share or add or anything online?
I just want to share that I've been kind of I'm being told I need to do a class again. And so if for those of you that are interested, feel free to let me know if you're interested. But I'm looking at putting together maybe 5 or 6 weeks, and it's kind of like ascension together, because I'm still processing through this as well. Like there's a lot of stuff, but I do feel like having a little group where we can kind of coach through and discuss things and become aware of the different phases and different stages and different steps and tools that I have obviously gotten a lot from you. But whether it's, I like to learn a lot. I love learning. And so I feel like I've got that from you as well. I don't know. So if you're interested in something like that, let me know. But I feel like I'm in the process of creating that. And I definitely feel like I need to put that together. So I would love for you to join me. And also help support me in my life. So.
All right. Well, with that, last chance for anything online.
What is the last stuff? I know we just a couple people asked about Josie, and I just said send her love. She's been going through some stuff, so but there's a few people asking where
she'll be back when it's time. Right. Again, it's just her having to deal with the stuff that's on her plate.
And we all know our plate can get colorful, empty, full. It changes.
We all know that everything is divinely perfect.
Yes. Yes. And I love that you all join us. So thank you for being a part of our family tribe. I love you guys.
And I would like to say that, again, this week we've had a week of where our homework was about being kind and just the kindness and how that causes us to feel differently. And then last week's assignment was about, I forget what it was about, but this week's assignment is about smiling and sending love intentionally in all kinds of situations. And just watch how you feel, because it's, our evolution comes through our actions, and the more we do it, the more we can recognize the changes within us. So do your homework this week and give me feedback either in an email or online. And if you feel the need to reach out to me, heather@heatherharder.com, please do so. And we'll be back next Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Time. To your friends, Stacey's given the Zoom number. We stay with the same Zoom number each week, and so if we can be of service, let me know. And so have a great week. Enjoy the journey, and until we meet again.
Yes. And Heather@heatherharder.com. I am StaceyHarder.com. Hers is heatherharder.com. And feel free, if you like this, you feel this message is important, then feel free to share it with your friends, because I do find the more we get in this and start doing the energy work together, the more powerful it becomes. So I love connecting with our soul family. So thank you. Thank you. Esme wants to know, is next week Spirit Sprinkles week?
At this point in time, I haven't been given that information, but I'll let you know, probably.
Okay.
It's been a while since we had a Spirit Sprinkle week, so we'll see.
Okay. Well, you were saying you're going to do that once a month.
I know, but I go by spirit, so things change.
Then why say once a month?
Because that's what I felt at the time. So we'll see. Actually, we'll see what's coming. I may get another perfect email from Rebecca that I have to go with. So we'll see. It'll be perfect, whatever it is. And
someone asked if I was on vacation, and I was like, no, it's just hot. And once you put a hat on for the day, like you kind of have to keep the hat on. But it was like 100-something degrees here today. So this was my cooling weather. All right. I love you guys. Thank you so much again. Bless.
Love and light.
Thank you for being awoke. Strength, courage to see
Bye,
it.
Becky. Thank you for your lovely email.
Oh, thank you for appreciating it.